I love it whenever I text you and you're like, "I've got an idea. I have a plan." And then I just know we're gonna be in for a good ride.
And I was thinking about this. I listened to a lot of different podcasts. I was listening to 2 specifically this week, and it this idea that we are telling people one specific way to live their life or one specific way to diet, exercise, raise your kids, get your hormones checked, what supplements you should be taking. This idea that one size fits all in any aspect of life, let's be honest, doesn't work. We are individuals for a reason. And I mean, I had to turn off both those podcasts because I couldn't even listen to the full episode. I was so turned off by the way they were speaking to the listeners. And my thought was, God, I hope we've never done that on this podcast.
That's just kind of like the culture, though, I think. It seems like that we're just you have to be this or that, and that's what's created so much division
Yeah.
and tension within our country, culture, communities, whatever,
Mm.
and I just would really like for us to see us all moving towards more of a collective middle ground where menu options are presented and we all just
Yeah.
recognize we're just doing the best that we can.
And that what works for me might not work for you. You know, you're never going to be the person that sits down and meditates for 10 minutes every morning. Like it is so ingrained in me at this point. Like I live and die by my meditation. But that, you tried it. God bless you. Like you'll
Mhm,
try
mhm,
anything.
right.
It just doesn't work for you. You're like, "I meditate when I move my body," and I respect that. I'm not over here being like, "Well, I guess she's not doing it right. Guess you won't be enlightened like I will be." It's just there's no judgment because you've gotta do you, and I gotta do me and what works best for me. And, like I said, it's this idea I can get behind because I'm not talking shit about these podcasts. They've put a, I've learned a lot from both of them. Um, but this idea, whenever I do something like meditation, right? I am very passionate about it because I feel like in some ways like saved my life, at least gave me my life back, helped me, gave me another tool in the toolkit to address my anxiety. And to really listen to my intuition. But and I share that freely because it might work for somebody else. And so I guess that's just where I'm coming from. Same thing with diet. I feel like that's a big one. Like, you need to eat organic. Well, that's great, Sally, if you can afford organic. But you know what? I know a lot of people who can't. And I'm not going to shame them because it truly isn't within their means. I would say live within your means. Whatever
Right.
works for you and your family and feed your family at the end of the day is the only thing that matters. And I don't know, it really like struck a chord with me today listening to these. I thought, are you so out of touch with w- h- half the population, if not more?
Well, I think you're right. We hear it a lot whenever it comes to like diet culture. You need to be
Hmm.
eating no carbs, all carbs, meats, all these different things that kind of come up. But we also hear it like whenever it comes to like parenting our kids or,
Hmm.
how we
Hmm.
want to show up for different things. And if you're not doing this, then it's wrong. Well, you know what? Every child is different and every person has their own approach and needs. And that doesn't mean the next best thing that you hear coming up, I don't know, like again on a different podcast or the next pop culture, kind of book that
Yeah.
ends up coming out is the way that you need to kind of take that and then prescribe it to your life. I think that this is about taking a sampling of things and then seeing what is applicable given this given moment within your context of living and then play
Yes.
that thing out and see how it goes. But
Hmm.
then don't apply judgment to other people who are not doing the same exact thing,
Right.
or thinking that they're
Right.
doing it
And don't
wrong or they're gonna screw something up.
Right, or shame them in some way because it does, it feels shameful. Another example was like, well, group fitness is a joke, like it's doing nothing for you. And I wholeheartedly disagree. If it is getting your ass out the door and you are moving your body, it's doing something. We know science tells us, right? I'm going to argue that point. Science tells us that exercise releases endorphins. It doesn't say only if you lift heavy, only if you're, doing squats and lunges. No, exercise, movement releases endorphins. And so just to like like, the whole idea that, like, we're, eliminating a whole, like, type of fitness or a whole, food group from our food pyramid, right? Like, "Oh, can't eat carbs anymore." Like, should be protein, you better stuff your face full of cottage cheese, or to the opposite, like, don't eat cottage cheese. Your body doesn't need all that dairy. Dairy's bad for you. Like, whatever works for you. And you gotta try things, and some things might work and some things might not.
Yeah. Yeah, we're guinea pigs in everything that we're trying to sit here and work at and do. And then everybody else
Mhm.
that's around us is also a guinea pig. So just because we're all in the same house or in the same community, state, whatever culture does not mean that we are all identical. Um,
Right.
and I mean, that even goes for our house and what
Yeah.
each person does for their own benefit and wellness. I mean, I think there's a general idea of what health is and that we're trying to stay within that range. But
Right.
anytime, whenever we stick to rigidity, that
Mm.
rigidity, failure follows rigidity is one thing that,
Ooh, I
we would
like
talk
that.
I would yeah, I would talk a whole lot about it, especially in clinic and working with patients that had chronic medical conditions, because a lot of
Yeah.
times they tell you that you need to have, like, this goal weight, this goal cholesterol, like,
Mhm.
this goal A1C, or,
Yeah.
whatever the thing would be, and basically what that's like, it's like giving somebody a grade that they are either passing or
Mhm.
failing in if they don't hit that,
Yeah.
and that's not the way that life kind of functions. It's much more within a range, and so even within, like, my world, part of what I even worked with physicians and researchers, who were looking into kind of this stuff was on, like, let's develop a healthy range for individuals because then we can move the mark of achievement. And so instead of hitting at numbers, maybe you want your blood sugar to be within X, Y, and Z. Now, again, we can move that range as we're having success, but let's just focus on it being an
Mhm.
actual range instead of, like, again, rigidity, because failure follows rigidity. And anytime that
Yeah,
we
I
put
love
that up
that
there,
phrase.
yeah, it's gonna get you, and you don't want something just to
And,
get you.
honestly, that applies to so much, right? I can tend to get pretty rigid in my ways, specifically, like, for me. Not, like, rigid in that you must do this way, but, like, right now, I started a new exercise program that I'm trialing, right? I love a challenge, and it's a challenge. It's new, it's different. My ADHD brain loves something new and different, and, I'm tracking macros again. Just 'cause, right? I think it's important, for me personally and my goals. I think that that's important right now. And today I've had 2 breakfasts and, before we hopped on to record, my stomach was growling very loudly, like, the Blue Angels are in town, they're doing their, show
Cool.
this weekend, and so they are practicing, and it is extremely loud. Like, the first time they went over, the dog and I both, like, jumped behind the couch, freaked out. We're like, "What the hell was that?" But I could hear my stomach growling over the Blue Angels outside, and I was like, it's only 11 o'clock, but I'm hungry. And yes, I've already had 2 breakfasts. And yeah, I'm probably gonna go over my macros today. But I just ate a big ass bowl of spaghetti because I didn't wanna get on here and have you all listen to my stomach growl, and I didn't wanna be hungry. And I'm like, it's that kind of stuff where I'm like, I don't have to be so rigid. This isn't going to make or break my goals. This is one day. And I'm listening to my body. And right now, they're about to go over right now. I wonder if you'll be able to hear them. You can hear them coming. And then when it goes over, it like shakes the house. It's so loud. Anyway, um, it's super
That's so
cool, but
cool.
like
That's so cool.
freaks you out the first time you hear it, right? You're like, are we
Yeah.
getting bombed? Is this how we go out? Like, shit. I'm home alone with my dog. Um,
This is it.
but, yeah, it just I was like, "This is me trying to be less rigid, trying to give myself grace, really listen to my intuition." These are all things I personally meditate about and think about, is like, there is no that's why I was like, I love what you just said. Failure follows rigidity. And we get so set in our ways that we can't see the forest for the trees, like, can't see the bigger picture, which is really, being satiated. If my stomach's like, "You're hungry." I'm hungry. Like,
You're
eat
hungry.
something. I don't want my cortisol to spike, damn it, because I'm
Right.
hungry and I'm starving myself over here.
Right.
Um, it's just like that's such a specific example, but I think these are things that I'm trying to be better at in my 40s. Instead of being so rigid, instead of thinking there's one way, like just
Yeah.
pay attention to what your body's telling you.
Yeah. Your spirit and your gut in that regard too. I mean, even whenever it comes to like making a career choice or being in a certain field.
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of times like with
Mhm.
that, we just get so locked into what we've been that it keeps us from becoming. And again, I think that's one of those points that we just have to recognize that um sometimes the dreams that we had in our 20s and our 30s do not match the person that we're aligning with today. And if we
Yeah.
continue to live that dream, that's not ours anymore. That was Sarah's whenever she was
Mhm.
36. That's not Sarah's whenever she's
Yes.
44, you know? And
Yes.
I
Yep.
feel like that maybe we just get so stuck in having to, again, that rigidity of this is who I've been, this is what I said I was going to do. And now
Yeah.
it creates this discomfort and chasm because that's not who we are now. Because we've done so much growth, we've
Yeah.
done so much work, we've had so much life and experiences that even with that, holding on to that rigid definition,
Mhm.
title, job, relationship is not what that's where the failure's coming from now in that sense.
Yeah. It's funny how, like, we can just put this pressure on ourselves or we see, a movement, right? Like, I'm thinking about when we were training for the half marathon, you were training for
Mhm.
the ultra. I was
Yeah,
training for the half to come surprise you. And I remember I remember seeing all these women my age in the neighborhood with their weighted vests on. And I had a weighted vest, but I was doing so much running at the time I wasn't doing a lot of walking with the weighted vest, and I remember thinking, especially as I was getting up into my training and my body was starting to hurt, my hip was starting to hurt, I was like, "What am I doing? I'm tearing down my body. Everybody else is doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is walking with these weighted vests on. I'm so far behind." I was like, "All right, we're just gonna get through this and then we'll go back to walking." And but at the same time, like I was kind of like down on myself, right? Like, "What are you doing?" But during that training, that was like peak conditioning for me. The best I was so proud of the fact my body was performing, that I was sticking to that training plan, that I was gonna be able to fulfill this goal, which was to surprise you and run this race with you. And,
so fun.
I sometimes let that fear of I wasn't doing the right thing that everyone else was doing
Mhm.
supersede that, like, pride I had in what my body was actually taking, what it was doing. Um and it just and this was all in my own head. It wasn't that anyone was well, no, that's a lie. I was looking at social media and it's telling you, you shouldn't be running, you should be lifting heavy, walking with this weighted vest, all
Right.
these things, and I was like, here I am just, screwing my joints left and right, hurting my hip, I could barely walk towards the end of that training. But in the end, like, so glad I did it. I wouldn't trade that for anything, for lots of reasons. But, you can just really let things sort of like even put a damper on something really magical or special or important to you by listening to the outside noise.
Right. Yeah, it's a very big, joy stealer. Like, if you're not going to a
Mhm.
certain place on, like,
Mhm.
vacation or you're not doing this and that with your
Yes.
kids, it's like, oh, like, whenever somebody says that, it's like, maybe that's the judgment. Maybe you're not saying, "Well, that's not the wrong thing or the right thing." You're just going, "Oh." Like, whenever you, "Oh, we're not going to do this year." "Oh, you're not?" Whenever I hear that sometimes, it's like, "No, ma'am.
Very
We're
judgy.
absolutely not." Yeah, yeah, it's like, I don't know that that kinda tone and connotation is n absolutely necessary, and again, for us to be aware of us saying that puts that judgment onto other people whenever they're just trying to live their best life and do what's great for them, you know? Um, but if that is your thought, then
Yeah.
own it, I guess is my point. If you do have something to say about it, then just actually say what your
Yeah.
opinion is
Like, you and I are so different, and I think about, I would never in a gazillion years enter a pageant to save my life. That is so far removed from who I am, right? I
Mhm.
think you know that about me, right? I don't even put fingernail polish on my fingers. Like, I just that's not my jam.
Yeah,
And, but it is your jam, and I watch how it literally lights you up from the inside out,
yeah.
and it's your platform, and it is meaningful to you,
Mhm.
and that's why I'm like, "I will support you, I will be your cheerleader on the sideline, but damn
100%.
it, you're never gonna see me in heels and a bathing suit on a stage." Like, that shit ain't never gonna happen. Um,
Right, right.
but that doesn't mean that I can't think that that's not great for you, right?
Exactly.
Because 'Cause we're all different.
Yes. And we do life differently, and that's fine, and it's okay, and we
That's
just
what
don't.
makes us interesting.
Right, right, and again, I just don't think that, I don't know. I don't know that that whole idea of sizing is one size fits all. Is that ever true?
Mhm.
Like, it really,
Right,
like, whenever you see that on
right.
something, no. Can we just eliminate that? I mean, it's their individual characteristics that make us cool, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think about this on so much of a broader spectrum, just maybe because the climate that we're all kind of in or whatnot, but it's having this type of, again, rigidity is what has got us to a place of such division. And that to me is just a hard thing to kind of sit with and to see how much brilliance and life and creativity gets taken away whenever we live within those walls. And so I just, I don't know. It can really eat at you. It eats at me sometimes if I think about it that way.
Well, I think you're right. You're so right. And just from a social standpoint, and that's something I've had to personally work on. And I think honestly, like I'm just 100% real, taking that break from social media felt like a full body cleanse from the social bullshit that we are exposed to. I truly believe we were never meant to be exposed to this much information. And, I did a thorough cleaning out of social media. I unfollowed. There are still some that are very, one sided. I'm not going
Mm-hmm.
to say that I unfollowed everything, but I look at it through a different lens now. I look at it through this is a one sided lens, and there's probably a different perspective on the other side of that coin.
Yeah.
And while I may agree with this person's perspective, that doesn't mean that there isn't a different perspective of this. And so, I think part of it is the social media, the culture, and we kind of get in that echo chamber and it just feeds and feeds and feeds into our beliefs. And we can't hear anything different because we can't handle it, right? We're
Right.
so convinced that what we know is correct.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm not gonna say that I've never been that way. 1,000%. I can think of
For real.
specific topics where I have been that way, but I'd like to think that I have sorta turned the page and am looking at things from a different lens, and at least acknowledging like, "Oh, you only think this way."
Right. And that's fine.
I've got a
But it's the
firm belief
acknowledgement.
kids shouldn't be
Mhm.
retained. I mean, I do.
Right.
I firmly believe it is bad for kids to be held back a grade. It is bad for them socially, emotionally. There is no research to support that it improves their outcomes long term, but that doesn't mean that that has never worked for anybody under the sun. I guarantee there's a line of people that would say, Jenny, let me tell you, it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me, the fact that I repeated kindergarten. I'm trying to acknowledge that, like, even those types of things, and I can say research supports, but that doesn't mean always for everyone. Research hasn't researched every single human on the planet and
Right.
every single situation and every single context. It is a
Yeah.
sample size for a reason,
Right,
right?
and there are outliers
And
as
and
part of a statistical
and there's
analysis.
always gonna be That's right, there's always gonna be an outlier, and that's why we can't assume that one thing is best for everybody.
Right.
So,
And I don't think, like, to your point, I could just call them hot takes. I have plenty of hot takes on things. I have a whole library that I feel very, very that I can get on a nice big high horse and, take a real solid stance on. But that's also okay because that's part of my individuality. But again, and I don't have to hold on to those things. I can at least acknowledge that these are my firm beliefs, but
Yeah.
that does not mean that I can't acknowledge another side or a different perspective. And I think that's the piece that
Mhm.
gets missing is that if you think you have a very firm, solid value or belief, that again,
Mhm.
that prevents you from being empathetic or understanding or hearing another side. If you have that big of
Mhm.
a Cameron used this term the other day. If you have that big of an allergy to a situation or information, then that's probably a time for you to kind of like self check. You know what I mean? Like, and even
Yeah.
if you do
That's
have
a
it, that's
great point.
fine. Yeah. And even if you do have a strong allergy to something, then that's also a good thing for you to recognize about your own safety and what you can and cannot
Yeah.
expose yourself to. So, one, do a self check
Mhm.
and figure out, is this a true allergy in a sense, or is it, a different type of reaction? And if it is a true allergy, then maybe that is something you can't expose yourself to. I'm not going to go into a house full of cats. Okay, it's not happening. I'm not going to stay at your house like if you have a cat. That's something that is a true allergy. So if I'm going to be around somebody that I truly have very different beliefs, stances or whatever on, then that's my job to acknowledge that, be aware of it,
Yeah.
gracefully exit or also be aware enough that I am so aware of the differences, lines, and borders or whatever else that these things just don't play well together, and that's okay too. But I think it just comes down to really acknowledging what
Yeah.
these things are, and
Mhm.
modeling that even for your kids because again, they're watching all this stuff. They're picking up on everything. And the information that they get from those that they are face to face with in their own homes is so valuable, especially since they're getting flooded with so much stuff via a screen, via,
Mhm.
their own social environments. And so just, I don't know, it's real.
I mean, hell, I'm gonna give another education example to this because one I hear parents complain about all the time. Hell, I've complained about this until I fully understood it. But you think about the way we learned how to do math, right? In elementary school, what we call the standard algorithm. Well, you never learned because you suck
I
at math,
never, I
but
still don't
everybody
know.
else learned how to do
Everybody else
Sarah
got
skipped
this.
spelling and math.
Yeah, didn't do it.
But, um, she still got a PhD, so
I
kudos to
know,
her.
it's fine.
But the, the way that we were taught, right, makes a lot of sense to me. The standard algorithm, like, line up your numbers, add, subtract, multiply, divide, boop, boop, boop. Today, in 2026, we teach kids, lots of different strategies for how to solve. Like my daughter was doing her homework last night and she had to show two different ways of how she got the answer of a subtraction problem, 3-digit by 3-digit subtraction problem. And they could do the standard algorithm, which she just learned at the end of second grade, or she could represent it this other host of ways. They call it bundling and they look at the tens, the ones and the hundreds. Or she could do a number line. They're giving them like they call it something like the reason why you do these things are kind of like the concept behind it, not just like this is how you do it, which is how we learned, right? A formula. This is how we learned it.
Mhm.
It's different now. And a lot of parents are like, I just can't wrap my brain around why we're doing things this way. But now I kind of see it as they're giving kids a menu. If the standard algorithm, if you're somebody that doesn't line your problem up correctly, you're probably going to get it wrong, right? You're going to subtract the tens from the hundreds on accident. Versus like if you can always get it correct with a number line, or you can 99% of the time get it correct using the bundle method, I'm sure it's called something else. Um, that's okay too. The point being that we all arrive at the same correct answer. And so
Yeah,
just thinking about applying that to like any other area of life, it's really like learn all the different ways that you can manage anxiety. There's no one way to manage anxiety. My neighbor posted a reel the other day talking about how her therapist taught her to lay down and to take deep breaths. I had never heard that before. You've taught me to put an ice pack on my chest.
Sure.
I
Mhm.
obviously am practicing meditation to support that grounding. Like there's so many different tools that you have to find what works for you. Um,
Mhm.
so I think that it goes back to this idea of like a menu of choices, and I hope truly if you're listening to this, I hope that that is what we have given you is a menu. We kind of explore it all and we say this worked or that for me or it didn't work for me or whatever, and that you take something and maybe it gives you some motivation to try something different, or maybe it just some new ideas. You might take it and make it your own, and try something totally different. So I hope that is my goal for this podcast as we continue moving forward through the next season, right? What are we in now, Sarah? Season
6.
5,
Mhm. 6, yeah.
6? See,
6. 6.
um, that that as we continue this podcast into the future, that we just keep providing a menu of options and we're never telling you one specific way to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's I mean, again, rigidity equals failure, follows failure, so step back, folks.
Get a
Step
t-shirt that
back.
says that.
I should find a way to patent it and hashtag it or something, huh?
If you have a topic for the Lilas podcast you would like to hear us gab about, please go to our website. You can text the show straight from the website, lilaspodcast.com. And of course, on our social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, any of those, you can leave us a message. Let us know if there's a topic that is just a burning desire. We have a phenomenal guest coming on next week. Sarah has been killing it scheduling these amazing guests.
Brilliant.
And this is next week is a topic that we have had several requests to cover, and so it's a heavy one, but one that I'm personally looking forward to because I don't know a ton about it, and I'm excited to learn and see if we can give some support and some ideas for people. So make sure you tune in next week, y'all.
Yes, please do. Also, fun fact, we have a book club that all of the authors that have been featured on our podcast, we will have a list of them on our website. And if you are particularly local to the Huntington, West Virginia area, one of our local bookstores, Book Tenders, is going to start carrying all of the books and from the authors that we have on their shelf. But for those of you that are not local, you can order online. And so we'll have that on there too. It's just a nice little quick place to support something.
Yes, support local. We believe in that, but you know what? If that's not in your budget, you can find it cheaper on Amazon. Do that too.
Do
Do
that too.
you, babe.
Do you,
Just
babe?
do what makes you happy.
Right. And here we are.
And here we
All
are.
right.
All right, y'all. That's all we got for this week. Until next week, Lilas.
Out.